Here are the top stories for today, February 18, 2021. More than 180,000 healthcare workers registered for the COVID-19 vaccination rollout. Alert Level 1 is up in Taal volcano due to its continued unrest. Baguio City Jail officers intercept shabu in Adobo for inmate. The Commission on Human Rights is looking into the rescue operation of lumad children in Cebu City. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. We begin with the country's first tropical cyclone this year. The Caraga region is bracing for the onslaught of tropical storm Auring. The local disaster response office in Surigao del Sur has prepared rescue equipment and other life-saving devices as early as Wednesday. Earlier today, the Office of Civil Defense in Caraga held a pre-disaster risk assessment meeting to discuss measures to brace for Auring's impact. The Philippine Coast Guard has also suspended trips of all small vessels and boats from Siargao to other parts of Surigao del Norte. Auring is seen to intensify into a severe tropical storm before making landfall over the Caraga region this weekend. As of 11 a.m. today, Auring is packing maximum winds of up to 65 kilometers per hour near the center and gusts of up to 80 kilometers per hour. It was last tracked 685 kilometers east-southeast of Hinatuan, Surigao del Sur. The storm is expected to bring heavy rains over most parts of the country over the weekend until Monday. The country is all set for its COVID-19 inoculation drive ahead of the arrival of vaccines from Pfizer and other brands within the month. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said negotiations are underway with Pfizer to assure the mutual protection of the government and the vaccine manufacturer.
Ikatlo, ang Pfizer at AstraZeneca naman po ay maiiwi na nagaling na po sa FDA. At ikaapat, handang-handa na po ang pamahalaan para sa pagdating ng 117 doses ng Pfizer at ngayon po ay nagkakaroon na ng mga final arrangements kung ano po ang mga requirements. At ikalima, ang FDA po natin ay nag-issue na ng EUA para sa Pfizer sa ilalim ng COVAX donation. Ang AstraZeneca naman, ongoing po ang pag-aproba ng EUA para sa mga donasyon galing sa COVAX.
Galvez also announced the government has signed an indemnification agreement with Pfizer and AstraZeneca under COVAX facility negotiations. He also assured that details such as cost, volumes, and exact delivery dates of the vaccines will be made public once the supply deals are finalized. Meanwhile, National Policy Against COVID-19 Deputy Chief Implementer Secretary Vince Dizon said the country has enough trained vaccinators to facilitate the nationwide inoculation program for COVID-19.
Sapat na po ang ating mga na-train na vaccinators, hindi lang ng national government, kundi ng ating mga local government units. At matutulong din po sa atin ang mga iba't ibang NGOs tulad ng Philippine Red Cross, at iba pati ang private sector tutulong din po.
More than 180,000 healthcare workers registered for the country's upcoming COVID-19 vaccination drive. The Department of Health says most of them are from hospitals which will receive the first batch of COVID-19 vaccines from Pfizer-BioNTech.
As of February 16, coming from the data from the Department of Information and Communications Technology, yung kanilang Vaccine Information Management System or VIMS, meron na pong 186,562 na mga healthcare workers na naipasok dito sa ating sistema. And most of these healthcare workers would comprise those from the eligible hospitals na isasama natin sa pauna nating pagbabakuna with Pfizer vaccines. Sa senior citizens po, we have more than 1.4 million already master listed. For indigents, we have 3 million, and for the uniformed service, we have 164,000.
In Davao City, around 537,000 residents are set to get inoculated with the first shots of COVID-19 vaccine. These include some 16,000 health workers, 77,000 senior citizens, 5,000 uniformed personnel, and over 432,000 indigent residents. City Health Officer Dr. Ashley Lopez says this number is still expected to increase. Davao City aims to vaccinate at least 1.2 million people to achieve herd immunity. The Bureau of Customs is also bracing for the arrival of COVID-19 vaccines. 3 BOC ports recently held an interport meeting to ensure smooth release of the vaccines. The ports of Ninoy Aquino International Airport, Cebu, and Davao on February 11 discussed issues such as customs pre-clearance process, documentary requirements for importation and donation, expedite handling, and logistical challenges. This will ensure that the standard procedures on the release of the vaccines will be adopted and implemented in all ports where the COVID-19 vaccines will arrive. The Bureau also tightened its security against the importation of fake and smuggled medicines and vaccines. The national government units in Negros Occidental, Sarangani, and Ilocos are all set for the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccination program. The details from Lade Cabagani.
The Provincial Health Office in Negros Occidental encouraged local government units to purchase biomedical refrigerators to store COVID-19 vaccines. Dr. Ernel Tumimbang, Provincial Health Officer, said having their own cold storage facilities will make vaccine deployment easier for the province's 12 cities and 19 municipalities. Tumimbang said the provincial government itself will purchase cold storage boxes and rent refrigerated vehicles to transport the vaccines to the localities across the province. Governor Eugenio Lacson earlier asked for 3 million doses of vaccines from the national government to reach 70% of the province's total population, or some 1.5 million Negrenses needing 2 doses each. The provincial government already secured 100,000 doses from AstraZeneca intended for medical frontliners. These jobs are expected to arrive in the third quarter of the year. Meanwhile, development works have started for the 10 million peso temporary treatment and monitoring facility for COVID-19 patients in Maasim, Sarangani. The 20-bed facility will serve as the primary monitoring treatment center for patients with moderate to severe symptoms of the disease. Officials from the Department of Health in Region 12 and local officials graced the groundbreaking rites for the facility, which is one of 6 facilities being constructed in the region. The other projects are being constructed in Coronadal City, Sultan Kudarat, and North Cotabato. These COVID-19 facilities are being funded by the national government under the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act. In Ilocos region, over 1 million residents are listed under the Group A category, or the priority group, for the COVID-19 inoculation program. The list includes frontline health workers both in public and private institutions, contact tracers, barangay health workers, barangay health emergency response teams, indigent senior citizens, other senior citizens, indigent population, and uniformed personnel. The Department of Health in Region 1 said it has already prepared 88 cold storage facilities in the region, on top of a big cold storage facility in the DOH Regional Office for the vaccination rollout. Training for vaccination teams has been ongoing since January. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Lade Cabagani.
The Department of Transportation, or DOTR, is ready to implement the increase in passenger capacity of public transport vehicles as proposed by the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA. The DOTR said the proposal will be implemented once approved by the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases and as directed by the Cabinet. Regardless of the decision, the department said it will continue to implement strict health protocols. NEDA Director General Carl Chua earlier recommended the expansion of public transport capacity to 75% from the current one-seat-apart policy. He said this will allow more people to return to work to support the country's economic recovery. Still to come, Alert Level 1 is up in Taal volcano as it continues to show increased unrest. And Baguio jail officers bust a not-so-pleasant surprise in a food package for an inmate. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Pangalagaan ang sarili laban sa Coronavirus Disease 2019. Hanggat maaari, umiwas sa mataong lugar. Iwasang hawakan ang ilong at bibig, maging malinis sa katawan at ugaliin ang wastong paghuhugas ng kamay. Takpan ang ilong at bibig kung uubo o babahing. Umiwas sa mga taong nagpapakita ng sintomas ng coronavirus disease gaya ng lagnat, ubo at sipon. Magsuot ng face mask kung kinakailangan. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, warns of an increasing possibility of a phreatic eruption from Taal volcano, similar to what happened last year. PHIVOLCS Taal Volcano Network recorded 91 tremor episodes in the past 24 hours, having durations of 1 to 5 minutes. Activities in the main crater consisted of weak emission of white steam-laden plumes from fumaroles that rose 5 meters high. As such, alert level 1 is maintained over Taal volcano. This means there might be a sudden steam-driven or phreatic explosions, volcanic earthquakes, minor ashfall, and lethal accumulations or expulsions of volcanic gas. PHIVOLCS strongly recommends the no-entry policy within the vicinity of Taal Volcano Island. President Rodrigo Duterte expressed condolences to the people of Indonesia following the death of Indonesian Ambassador Dr. Sinyo Hari Sarundajang. Sarundajang passed away due to an illness in Jakarta on February 13. In a palace statement, Duterte called Sarundajang a true friend and a champion of Philippine-Indonesian bilateral relations. He added that Manila and Jakarta's ties became stronger under Sarundajang's term as the envoy paved the way to the greater cooperation for peace, security, and stability and prosperity in the Brunei, Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East ASEAN growth area, and the larger region. Sarundajang was also Indonesia's ambassador to Marshall Islands and Palau since February 2018. He also served as governor of 3 Indonesian provinces from 2002 to 2015. A leader of the House of Representatives on Wednesday lauded the proposed wage subsidy program of the Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE. House Committee on Labor and Employment Chairperson Enrico Pineda said the wage subsidy provision would have an allocation of 52 billion pesos under the proposed Bayanihan to Arise as One Act, or Bayanihan 3 bill. Pineda said the House panel's proposal, as well as DOLE's, is to subsidize the salary of workers between 25 and 50%. Pineda noted that more than 400,000 workers lost their jobs due to the pandemic, while more are displaced from the informal economy since March 2020. He also stressed the need to expedite the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccination program. The wage subsidies would benefit around 1.6 million workers, as it would stop employers from further retrenching their workforce. Drug traders are getting smart in carrying out their activities even in jails. But this time, officers of a jail in Baguio City are just a little smarter. In this video taken on February 12, this food package for an inmate was found to have a unique and illegal flavor. 10 plastic sachets of shabu worth 136,000 pesos were found to be hidden in chunks of pork adobo and bacareta. The man who brought the food for an inmate suddenly left in the middle of the jail officer's scrutiny of the food, thus raising their suspicion. Jail Warden Superintendent Mary Ann Olayging Tresmanio said the contraband was discovered as they stepped up search of items and shipments for both inmates and jail guards. A Muntinlupa court dismissed the bid of Senator Laila De Lima and her former aide Ronnie Dayang to junk the drug charges against them. In an order released yesterday, Judge Lisel Aquiatan of the Muntinlupa Regional Trial Court Branch 205 also junked De Lima and Dayang's move to post bail. Prosecutors alleged that from November 2012 to December 2012, the former Justice Secretary conspired with Dayan in receiving drug money from high-profile inmates to fund her 2016 senatorial bid. Meanwhile, the court granted De Lima's bid to junk the separate charge against her, which involved co-accused Jose Adrian Dera. The court, however, junked a similar move by Dera but allowed him to post bail. In our business news, the Department of Trade and Industry is partnering with the Bank of the Philippine Islands, or BPI, to assist micro, small, and medium enterprises amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The DTI signed a memorandum of understanding with BPI Business Banking, who will support the agency's programs such as the SME Roving Academy, the Kapatid Mentor Me, and Youth Entrepreneurship Program, as well as regional trade fairs. The DTI in Davao Region will produce more graduates from the Kapatid Mentor Me program, which guides existing and aspiring MSMEs. Despite the pandemic, last year's online mentoring in Davao Region produced 80 Kapatid Mentor Me graduates. Since the program started in 2016, it produced a total of 546 graduates across the region. The DTI also provided shared service facilities worth 6.6 million pesos in Caraga region to support the national government's Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program. Up next, the Commission on Human Rights is looking into the rescue operation of Lumad children in Cebu City. Upcoming San Antonio Spurs matches have been postponed due to COVID-19. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang mga dapat gawin sa lugar ng trabaho laban sa Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ang mga kumpanya ay dapat magbigay ng face mask sa kanilang mga empleyado. Bukod dito, magbigay kaalaman din patungkol sa COVID-19. Siguraduhin malinis ang kapaligiran. Maglagay ng sabon at hand sanitizer sa mga palikuran. Siguraduhin ligtas at nalutong maigi ang mga pagkain sa kantina. Obserbahan ang kalusugan ng mga empleyado at katrabaho. Kung sakali man na mayroon silang sintomas ng coronavirus disease, gaya ng lagnat, ubot sipon at hirap sa paghinga, ay agad ipasuri sa doktor. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The Commission on Human Rights has deployed a probe team to look into the so-called rescue operation of IP children in Cebu City. The CHR expects all involved parties to cooperate in their independent investigation. On February 15, social workers and authorities rescued at least 19 minors from the Manobo tribe who have been held since March last year at a retreat house operated by the University of San Carlos Talamban campus. 13 of the rescued children came from Talaingod town in Davao del Norte and 6 are from Sultan Kudarat. 3 other minors from Talaingod were allegedly brought to the University of the Philippines in Metro Manila to work with left-leaning organizations. Authorities said about 7 supposed teachers who were with the children at the campus will face criminal charges. In a related development, 6 parents from the Manobo tribe on Wednesday filed complaints of kidnapping and serious illegal detention against the Sapungan teachers who brought their children to Cebu. Tribal Chieftain Ogita Saculabon and Social Welfare Officer Lorna Bangoy assisted the parents in a conference with investigators from the Commission on Human Rights. Special Investigator Maria Voy Belen said they are determining human rights violations committed against 19 IP minors rescued in a retreat house owned by the University of San Carlos Talamban campus. In their common complaint, the parents alleged that a certain Ariel took their children from their place in Purok, Kamigawan in Palmahil, Talaingod. Ariel's group allegedly promised that the children would be brought to Haran School in Davao City. However, the children did not return home since 2018 forcing them to seek the help of Talaingod Mayor Johnny Libayaw to locate them. The tribe members also said they had no contact with their children. Presidential Communications Secretary Martin Andanar on Tuesday reminded Sangguniang Kabataan officials in Misamis Occidental of their role in helping the government in combating COVID-19. In a dialogue held in Osamis City, Andanar urged the youth officials to be one with the government in disseminating correct information and countering misinformation with truth. He also lauded the SK for pushing fresh ideas and initiatives to help the nation to grow and evolve. Andanar also underscored the participation of the youth, which he said is often overlooked and underestimated demographic. Meanwhile, PCOO vowed to provide local government units in the province a communications toolkit for an information drive on COVID-19 vaccines. Undersecretary Mon Kualoping, Director General of Philippine Information Agency or PIA, said these toolkits aim to streamline and educate their constituents on the importance of getting inoculated. In sports, the NBA has postponed its upcoming San Antonio Spurs matches after being struck by 4 positive coronavirus tests. The Spurs game last Wednesday, February 17, Saturday, February 20, and Monday, February 22nd have been postponed in accordance with the NBA's health and safety protocols. The Charlotte Hornets, which San Antonio was supposed to face, is undergoing contact tracing, and their next 2 matches will also be postponed. The Spurs have been in quarantine in Charlotte since Sunday. The Spurs beat the Hornets 122-110 in Charlotte Spectrum Center on Sunday night. As part of efforts to revive tourism amid the pandemic, Intramuros has reopened to visitors with some rules in effect against COVID-19. The walled city is also bracing for the influx of tourists for the Holy Week. Marita Mawahe has the story.
Intramuros will now welcome guests and tourists on a limited capacity. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat announced on Wednesday the formal opening of the historic walled city in the new normal. Intramuros is armed with health and safety protocols against COVID-19 consistent with Interagency Task Force guidelines. The Intramuros Administration or IA plans for its gated sites such as the historical and cultural attractions, heritage and religious museums to be open to tourists and the general public. Intramuros also looks forward to hosting essential activities including social events and meetings. The IA is particularly preparing for the influx of visitors this coming Holy Week. IA Chief Guillermo Acido said Intramuros is now in talks with stakeholders to craft additional measures for the Lenten season and the possible reopening of more churches inside. Acido said they would identify first the carrying capacity of Intramuros for the duration of Lent, giving its record-breaking 1 million visitors in 2019. Other options are open as well, such as hosting an online Visita Iglesia for a safer observance of the Holy Week. Intramuros reopened 3 of its sites, Fort Santiago, Casa Manila Museum, and Baluarte de San Diego last Wednesday. The IA said only visitors aged 15 years to 65 years would be allowed inside. To prevent overcrowding, a carrying capacity would be applied where only 100 people would be allowed in Fort Santiago at a time, 15 in Casa Manila, and 100 in Baluarte de San Diego. Guests would also be required to register their visit on staysafe.ph app for contact tracing purposes. Intramuros was hailed as Asia's leading tourist attraction in the 2020 World Travel Awards, besting world-class landmarks as India's Taj Mahal and the Great Wall of China. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muahe.
Here's another look at today's biggest stories. More than 180,000 healthcare workers registered for the COVID-19 vaccination rollout. Alert Level 1 is up in Taal volcano due to its continued unrest. Baguio City Jail officers intercept shabu in Adobo for inmate. The Commission on Human Rights is looking into the rescue operation of lumad children in Cebu City. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.